is Vedat Sevinçer, and I am the project manager of North Census Media Forum, a non-profit media organization, but also I am managing editor of English magazine called the Nordic Page. But maybe I can start with also just giving some information what this local elections is, how it looks like, because it usually changes from country to country. In Norway, we have these local elections every 4 years in the second Monday of September. And before I just mention about the major parties who are running for that, because it's different from city to city, and the idea is also to select the city councils and the mayor and the head of the counties in the country. But I think I can say a few things about some remarkable features of this, or why it is so different from the other local elections in Norway before. There's a unique thing about these local elections this time, even though we have every 4 years these elections in the 2nd of September. This is the first time we will have so little number of municipalities, because government has recently merged many municipalities, and there were a lot of criticism and local reactions because when the municipalities have been merged, there was a question if the locals will have the same quality services in bigger municipalities. So this is the first time we are going to the local elections with 356 municipalities compared to more than 400 before. And another very important thing to consider to analyze these elections is also there will be 350,000 voters from immigrant community which doesn't have a Norwegian passport. According to Norwegian law, even though you're not a Norwegian citizen, if you have been living in Norway with a residence permit for more than 3 years, you have right to vote at in local elections. So this will be also in terms of the impact of immigrant community here. It's a very interesting elections this time. How this municipal election works? It's a bit complicated system for the new voters actually, but I'll just briefly explain the key points. In these elections we just vote for the candidates to form our district council, or what we call in bydel, and also city council candidates. As a voter, you can choose, so you have mainly two ballots, so one for your district and one for city council. So there you can choose a party, or also you can choose the candidates from those parties. But if you want also to add somebody else from another party, you can also do it. And when you do that, then the power of your vote is also divided. So it's a long, complicated system, but it's possible. But in short, it's possible to vote for several candidates from several parties. And mainly when you just choose your candidates, for both district and also for city council, and according to the votes, then the city council is formed. And the city council, in the city council, like in parliamentary elections, parties come together and try to form a city government. And when they agree on the terms, in terms of the number of seats, then they also choose one mayor among each other, and also other key roles for the city government. When we look at the topics which the parties are talking about, and the biggest issues is discussed in the public. There are two main topics actually. There are two main topics that somehow determined the agenda of this local elections. One of them is road tolls. That might sound a bit extraordinary for many people who are not familiar with the topic, because in Norway, inside the cities, there are road tolls which the drivers have to pay from going from one region in the city to another city. Road tolls issue is a bit peculiar in Norway because, as I said, the drivers have to pay even inside a city for going to one neighborhood to another. And recently, some local governments have introduced more road tolls, and it has created a lot of reaction from the voters. And this is one of the main topics actually, which will also determine the result of the local elections this year. But even though those road tolls are mainly managed by the local governments, but there are also road tolls which are introduced by introduced from the central government. The reaction to those more road tolls actually has had the biggest impact on the governing parties, which are the Conservative Party and FRP. Because there's this new party which has emerged as a kind of a protest to those road tolls, called Anti-Road Toll Party, which has surprisingly received a lot of support from the voters, and the biggest damage has been made to the governing parties, because the governing parties are accused of not taking action about those tolls before, even though they pretended as if they are, and they have been all the time, just giving pictures, symbolizing, they are against the road tolls, especially FRP, Progress Party. It's all the time giving images in the media, saying that they are against the tolls, and they are making some symbolic shows actually, even in front of the cameras, taking down their toll signs on the road. But still, it backfires, and that anti-toll party has taken a lot of support from those two parties. And also another reason why they have lost so much support is also many people think that they haven't supported local governments enough. Then the local governments so that way local governments will not need those toll income to support their activities or their services. But when we look at who is supporting those more tolls and who is against them, on paper, especially FRP and Conservative Party are saying that they are against, they are for less tolls, and also as every bourgeoisie parties and more conservative parties, they are all the time in their political agenda saying, okay, they are building more roads, they are for building more roads, and but on the other hand, when we look at the more left-wing parties, what we call is like red-green parties, they defend more tolls, but with the argument that the money coming from those tolls will be used to build more, to support or to build more public transport and also other services to general public. So this somehow also finds a correspondence in many voters, even though people are still very reactive to toll issue. So when we just look at from the very beginning of the start of the the debate about the local elections, Road tolls was #1 topic, surprisingly. Actually, this road toll issue also has a lot of think when it comes to how it affects also, because most of the time we ask how this local election can have an impact on immigrant community here. This is one of the biggest questions. As I said, there are 350,000 non-Norwegian will vote in these elections, and also there are also other immigrant, Norwegian citizen with an immigrant background. But when we look at the socioeconomic structure, socioeconomic background of many immigrant people, they're usually, the average socioeconomic background of immigrant communities here is usually lower than average, or lower compared to the rest of the population. So when we just talk about these issues around roads, tolls, and also the services, building more public transport, actually it has a direct impact on that population with less socioeconomic opportunities. So this is one of the key issues actually that will affect also how the immigrant population will vote for. The road toll issue is also about a bit welfare services in local governments, but also about public transport, which most of the newcomers are usually dependent on those services. Another issue is property tax. Property tax issue is related to whether the local government should charge any tax from properties from their residents. And there's again two camps between left-wing parties and conservative parties, or bourgeoisie parties. FRP and Conservative Party, which is in the government right now, are mainly against property tax, while left-wing parties are supporting the idea of charging property tax from the people who have properties. Anyway, they are for property tax, and their argument again they believe how much they don't have enough income from the central government, so this property tax is a very important income for local governments, and they can use it again for infrastructure of the cities and also the welfare services again. While the right, on the other hand, the bourgeoisie parties claim they have been paying a lot of money already to the local government, so there's no need for more tax, especially property tax. Also, when we look at another topic, which is determining power when it comes to the result of the election, which is climate issue. The climate issue in Oslo, especially the current local government, one of the main player of the current local government is Green Party. Green, as it's an environmentalist party, and when we look at the general, the opinion polls, there's a trend that people are, especially young voters, are not very happy about the performance of the current government, which is made of bourgeoisie parties, conservatives, and FRP, when it comes to environmental policies. And there were some protests against some mining operations in the Arctic region, and also the building of wind turbines in different parts of the country, which is actually naturally, which is supposed to be naturally reserved and protected. This issue of unhappiness about the performance of the government pushes a lot of young voters to environmentalist parties. So as a result, the recent polls in Oslo shows the Green Party is one of the biggest parties right now, with over actually 15% support, and this is one of the main reasons, and it's kind of also reaction to the government's a bit more aggressive and not enough environmental actions. So when we just look at that young voters, this is one of the I think when we just look at who where the young voters are leaning to, so we can say that their number one issue is usually the climate issue. As one of the biggest manifestation of this is also the recent riots or demonstrations they have done. Once actually very recent on Friday, all the school students just took the streets and protested to raise awareness about the climate change, and another one actually also happened several months ago. So there's this issue. So when we just both road tolls, property tax, and environmental issues are kind of the three main legs of this elections. And of course, also when we just talk about public, when we just talk about local elections, also there are also two other issues: education and welfare services, which are usually mainly governed by the local government. So it means, so what we mean by educational services, it can be from the running of schools, the kind of services, opportunities provided at schools, kindergartens, and also after school opportunities, or what we call in Norwegian SFO, for parents. So when we just look at these three main topics, we see there are a lot of interconnections, and if we just want to summarize it somehow, we see two issues. There's one very reactive. The reactions actually somehow determine this elections, as in many parts of the world actually, but in a very different way. When we just look at the political the political spectrum all over the world, and in the reactive votes, or the reactive votes are shaping the politics of the world, and also actually it is also happening at the local level in Norway. So the reaction to tolls creates a new party, new brand, anti-toll party, and it has a lot of support now, and also it also leads a big damage to the governing parties. And also when it comes to climate issue, there is a big young voter group there who is not happy about what the government is doing so far with the environment, and they're very reactive, and it also shapes the fate of the local elections. So there's actually, they are very connected, especially these three main topics, and also the education issue and welfare service issue are very well connected, and has a big impact on immigrants in many ways. First of all, as I said, usually the newcomers are the ones who are benefiting most from, for example, public transport, and they are again the ones who are more dependent on those welfare services, good school education and support, support for integration. I'm not talking about the financial support, but also the kind of the services that will help the newcomers to integrate in the society through cultural activities, through better school opportunities, through better kindergarten opportunities, and other type of financial and non-financial welfare services. So in that sense, yeah, these are very determinant topic when it comes to how these local elections will also affect the daily lives of immigrants. There are certain fundamental political agenda of each parties, and when we look at the governing parties, especially FRP is a well-known anti-immigrant party. They usually support the restriction of immigration, and also sometimes there are some controversial statements from the leaders of the party saying there shouldn't be any non-Western immigrant in Norway. So this is kind of the main motto, or the core of the immigration policy of some parties there. So when you just look at also for going to vote for any candidate, also these kind of general agenda of those parties also are very determinant. How the result of the elections will affect the daily lives of immigrants as well. If we just try to find an answer to how also this election affect the upcoming general elections in 2 years, yeah, there will be consequences for that, as we see also how people react to the governing parties even in this local elections. And usually local elections are usually a warning sign for also the national parties, how they are doing. It's also kind of public poll about how they are doing at national level. And then when we look at the reactionary voting for anti-toll party instead of the governing party, these are all signs what kind of 2 years are awaiting in front of us, for us as voters, and also for those parties who are preparing for the local the general election. So especially in big cities, it will have consequences. For example, if right now, for example, in Oslo, it is still a green-red coalition which is governing the city, but after 25 years of conservative party governance in the city, so that was a big shift, and that was the red-green party coalition has finished their 5 years, and there were also a lot of criticism against them. But when we look at the tendencies of the voters, it's not only about about the performance of the governances, but also the general reaction, or the general perception of the parties, how the economy is doing, and how also, as I said, there's a big chunk of immigrant voters there, and it will also have a big impact on the results. And of course, it will also the rhetoric about immigration may even have an impact on the upcoming elections there, and because it's also a lot related to the welfare and public services. The consequence of this public the local election will have direct impact on general elections in 2 years.